Welcome to the Longevity Program, a program designed to help me live longer, stronger. And it's a beautiful Sunday morning, an absolutely glorious day outside. What a beautiful day to have some longevity, have some ability to get out there and really enjoy this amazing, sometimes crazy busy life that we live. Today, I'm going to focus again on one of the key pillars of the Longevity Program, and that key pillar is nourish. Now, I've talked about so many elements of nourish so far. I've talked about the importance of fasting and having that ability to give your body a break from eating and to do all of the wonderful things that it can do in the meantime while you're not eating. I've also talked about the impact of sugar, and in so many ways, nourish and this whole concept of what we put in our mouths can be almost incredibly and amazingly political. And today I really just wanted to break down the simplicity of what I'm looking to achieve with the Longevity Program. Let me take you through that in a little more detail. Simplicity. Simplicity in nourish, in dieting, in eating. I mean, we're not talking about a complex issue here. And yet so often, so many people can get so excited about you should eat this, you should do that, it must be paleo, it must be keto, it must be vegan, and so on and so forth. I'm just going to call, in a very simple way, complete crap on so much of what goes on. Because ultimately, and when it comes down to it, there is one person and one person only that can really understand what's going into your body and how that's interacting with your body and how that's helping you both feel, look, and generally go through this life. And that one person is you. And so for me at the moment, the Longevity Program is based on a couple of key eating, nourish principles that I've played with over years and that work really well for me. Now I'm sharing them because hopefully in playing with this yourself, it might also work for you, but then again, it may not. And this is a really important thing. At the moment, the Longevity Program, for me, looks at a plant-based diet. It looks at eliminating refined sugars. It looks at using fasting to a greater or lesser degree through my days and weeks and through the year. And really, what it's doing is it's focusing on a whole foods diet. Keep it simple. Please keep it simple, because this is such an important concept for so many of us. We live in this crazy busy world, and if we have a concept, whether it's a diet or whether it's just how you eat, and it's not simple, I tell you, it's going to fall over at some point in time because it's just too hard. Now, why am I so focused on this today? Because if, and I truly believe this, if you look to get something going in your life that is complex, that is that doesn't gel with how you live, almost certainly it'll fall over. And I don't want that for me, and I don't want that for any of you who are watching this. And the other thing that I'm going to say here is that it can be so, and I've mentioned this before, it can be so politicized. Now, when I talk to people about what I'm doing, if I'm at a restaurant, for example, or if I'm just talking to colleagues, people like to know, to pigeonhole, to say, well, what are you doing and how are you eating? And in many ways, it's very practical. And if I'm at a restaurant, I need to at least give them some indication of what I want to be putting in my mouth. And often I'll say, well, I'm eating a vegan diet. Now, from a general interaction, you can see any number of reactions to that. You can see people who are like, oh, I just don't like veganism because there's a whole lot of history behind that word, vegan. There are other people who say, that's fantastic, and anywhere in between. Ultimately, what am I trying to say though? I just say vegan because it's actually a really simple, quick way to let people know broadly how I'm eating at the moment. But really, what I'd like to say is, hey, I'm eating a plant-based diet at the moment because that is what I've played with and that what seems to work well with my body. Now, how did all of that start, just out of interest? I mean, I've done paleo, I've done keto, I've done calorie restriction, I've done a number of different diets. But really what they've been is it's just been me playing around with the food that I put in my body and then pausing and reflecting and seeing how that food interacts and how I feel. And I was talking with my wife this morning and talking about what I'd like to cover off in this post, and she said, yeah, but over the years, you've really got an understanding about what you put in your body, and not everyone has that level of understanding and feeling as to, well, if you put something in your body, how does that react? For example, if I have, I don't know, a hot chocolate, I can tell you the sugar in that hot chocolate, it actually makes me feel ill. Now there were many years ago, I used to have a hot chocolate and I may have felt a little bit ill, but because of how that sugar was interacting, but I didn't necessarily know it. But this is just something that comes over time. This is something that comes with playing with what you put in your mouth and how your body interacts with it. Anyway, I digress. Why am I currently eating what's called in so many areas a vegan diet? Well, my beautiful wife that I've mentioned just a second ago, a little under 5 years ago, went through a really nasty experience with breast cancer. Now we're almost 5 years clear. It's fantastic news, and she's done so well. One of the things that she looked at when she was researching recovery from breast cancer was research around how proteins, animal proteins, in a particular dairy, had negative reoccurrences with breast cancer. So she did a whole lot of research, and she decided that she would go vegan. Now, as a family, we then realised that if we were eating a different diet to her, then that for our family would cause challenges, because she's a mum and she's a fantastic mum. She would always look to help us first and then her later, and she wasn't really getting the meals that she needed because she was too busy cooking for us guys, which is just unfair. So we went vegan altogether, and that was a decision out of, you might say, necessity, out of a desire to really support my wife. But what it showed me was that plant-based, I'm not going to worry about vegan per se, the concept of the plant-based diet actually had so many great results for me. Now remember, we're all different. We all have different genomes, we all have different body types, we all have different makeups. But for me, that plant-based diet really worked well. So that's what I am on at the moment. Out of necessity comes sometimes an ability to learn something you otherwise didn't know. Am I going to remain on a solely plant-based diet forevermore? Amen. Well, I actually think the answer is no. I think what I will do, and I may even do it, I've got another blood test coming up very soon, and I've also got a DEXA body scan coming up soon. That's the halfway mark through the longevity program. And what I think I'll do is I'll actually look to bring in some animal protein in the second half of the 6 months of this longevity program, and I'll be able to see what are the different interactions with my body and how that goes from, because I'll do some more blood tests, and I'll also be able to have a look at the DEXA scans and so on and so forth. And I'll play and I'll experiment. So am I wed to this forever and a day? No. Will I listen and look at, see what my body is doing? Yes. Now, what I'll also focus on is how that interacts with my life. Because what I don't want to do is say, right, I want to bring in a whole lot of food and preparation and so on, where my wife, who will continue to be a vegan, will need to deal with that. So for example, it might be that I'm out at a work meal and I have the ability to have a nice lean steak. Well, I might have that. And what I probably wouldn't want to do is I wouldn't want to go back to eating a whole lot of meat, but maybe 2-3 times a week, I'll bring that meat back in. So what I'm trying to get across there is, I think so often people draw lines. They say, well, I'm going to be this or I'm going to be that. And even worse, you must be this or you must be that. And I tell you what, for me, that just does not gel. We're all individuals, and we need to be able to play with and work with what we put in our body and how that reacts with us. To put it simply, and my mum in so many ways was an amazing lady. Well, she's an amazing lady. But back many, many years ago, she said to me a very simple thing, and I absolutely love it. I'm going to share it with you right now. And that simple thing is, well, son, you just need to treat your body like a car. If you drive that car faster and harder, you need to put some more fuel in. If you're going slow on a Sunday drive and not really using much fuel, then don't put as much fuel in. How simple is that? And so when I think about looking at this thing, diet or nourish, or what food you put into your body, just ask yourself this simple question. What am I putting in my body? Is it bringing in a whole lot of calories? Is it bringing in a whole lot of unnecessary nutrients? Have I been exercising? Have I been pushing myself, and so on and so forth? And observe what's going on. That's what I do all the time. Observe what's going on and up it or down it, change it, see how it works. And in so many things in life, whether it's the longevity program and exercising and eating and so on and so forth, or whether it's just at work, or whether it's just looking at your own general life, once you are conscious of something, then you can act upon it. And then in acting upon it, you can iterate. And in iterating, you can hopefully move the dial the way that you want to move it. The longevity program for me is so much about that. I'm not in any way, shape or form saying you must do this, either to myself or to anyone watching, but rather let's play with what works for us. Let's give ice baths a crack. Now for me, they work super well. How about meditation? Actually, that's worked really well as well. How about a plant-based diet? It's working really well. I might tweak it, I might change it, and I'm certainly not going to tell everyone you must do this, because there's one thing for me that just does not sit well, and that is an absolute and rock hard desire to make other people do exactly what I'm doing. It's working for me. I'm loving it. I'm hoping you're enjoying hearing some of these posts each week. And the greatest thing, and I've got a blood test coming up and I've got a DEXA scan coming up within the next couple of weeks. The greatest thing is just seeing what goes on and then seeing how much energy that gives me, because there are beautiful days like the one out there today that are just begging to be taken advantage of, to be enjoyed. And that's what this is all about. This is all about just learning, growing, and enjoying this amazing, crazy, busy life that we lead. Because it's all about, for me, at the end of the day, living longer, living stronger. Until next time.